up first with the Tony Awards. It was the 77th year for the Tony Awards. Shout out to the critics over in Florida who reminded me of the biggest night for Broadway. This is the Academy Awards for Broadway, okay? As reported back on our May 25th episode, the Tony Awards took place on June the 16th, and Hell's Kitchen, which is a musical loosely based off the earlier years of Alicia Keys and her career, as well as growing up in New York. She was nominated. I'm sorry, nominated for the 13 Tony Awards. However, I believe they only took home 2 awards. It was hosted by Oscar-winning actress Ariana DeBose. She's known. I actually remember her from her role in West Side Story a few years ago. I'm sure she has a lot more to her resume. However, that's in terms of like where I acknowledge her from is definitely from that West Side Story. And also apparently she's also hosted 2 previous Tony Award shows. She opened up the show with a musical number of her own, and some of the highlights, y'all, of the night includes a special Tony Award. It went to Nakia Mathis for her Broadway contribution to wigs and their hair on Broadway. Shout out to that. Malia Joy Moon won for her role in Hell's Kitchen as lead actress. Also, George C. Wolfe received the Tony Lifetime Achievement Award. Kara Young won for featured actress in a play. And I know I'm kind of getting off topic just a little bit, but y'all know how I am sometimes. But in undergrad, when I actually did theater, one of the first places I was introduced to makeup that was my skin tone was through Ben Nye. And Ben Nye was the, I guess the makeup, should have looked this up before I start talking about it. But it was the makeup company that our theater program went through in order to order makeup. I'm sure that there was other resources as well that they used, but I'm specifically talking about what worked for me. But it was Ben Nye, and it was stores that I couldn't find. Now, I have to say MAC, M-A-C, so MAC Cosmetics, that was another place where I actually found it. But in terms of in theater, Ben Nye was one of the first places, even outside of it. Like there was times where I actually used my theater makeup for going to one of the Greek parties or, something like that. Anyway, getting back on track. Hopefully I'm not repeating myself, but Didi Yite won for Jaja's African hair braiding for costume design in a play. Haven't had a chance to see that one. That's actually a newer play, right? So we think about plays such as, so is Hell's Kitchen, of course. Want to say that as well because I didn't verify that was also a newer one. But we see stuff like The Wiz, which is again a classic. You see stuff like Dreamgirls, which is again a classic. Nothing's wrong with the classics. And there's definitely not enough classics, I think, in terms of Black musical theater, period. So I do want to be very direct when I say that. But I also feel like there's just not enough plays on Broadway being written, right? That's really for the culture. Let's just say it like that. I don't feel like it's enough that's being written. But I'm so glad that Alicia Keys stepped in. You know what was smart too about Alicia Keys writing Hell's Kitchen? They say it was an 11-year project. That's what the reports say. They said that this was an 11-year project. Is that she incorporated her music as well. So the music that she has from her, and of course people are like, well, it's roughly, based off her life, da 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 da. But you think about sometimes these musicals on Broadway, they don't always have the same music as what they had in the movie or even in like the life of, so it's good that Alicia was able to keep a lot of her music that she already has in her life for her original Broadway loosely based show called Hell's Kitchen. All right, so winning the best featured actress in a musical for her role in Hell's Kitchen was Keisha Lewis. She gave also a powerful speech, and if I can pull up this soundbite, I'm also going to go ahead and share this with you now. Again, Keisha Lewis, she won for featured actress in a musical, and this comes from the YouTube of CBS.
I would like to thank you, God, my first, my last, my everything. Thank you to the American Theater Wing and the Broadway League and every one of the fierce, fabulous female thespians in this category. I'd like to thank the entire cast on stage and off stage, the crew, the front and back of house staff at the Schubert Theater for being who they are and their hard work and support to make our show the joy that it is. I'd like to thank our creative team, Alicia Keys, Michael Greif, Christopher Diaz, Camille A. Brown, and all of our designers for their hard work and dedication as generals in leading the charge of our show. I'd like to thank my manager and friend of 15 years, Jed Abrahams, for truly seeing me and being my champion in an industry that is extremely challenging and often did not see me. Also, I thank Barrett Bischoff for his friendship and hard work. Thank you to my ENT and friend, Dr. Linda Dahl, who keeps this voce alive and well, and my vocal coach, Marlon Saunders. I'd like to thank those people in my life who wouldn't let me give up. Being in this business 40 years, I wanted to get up many times. Gabriela Diaz Gonçalves, Lisa Vidal, Daniel Coabady, and my longtime friends, Adrian Lennox and LaChance. I'd like to thank my spiritual families over the years for their training and loving me just for me without having me even open my mouth and sing a note. Particularly pastors Martin and Gail Watson, Reverend Darlene Palmer, and Dr. Hart Ramsey and Hunger Church Atlanta.
So I'm definitely going to stop it right there. But that was one of the most powerful speeches of the night. You should have seen the look on the audience face. They was up. You know how people give those speeches and you just want to like, you're with them. You don't want to go to the bathroom. You're like, oh, baby, I got to watch this. I got to see, but she has such a message of being in the industry for so long. And so proud of her and so happy for her. So it's such a relatable story too. When you come from the world of theater, you're seeing other folks who are, just recipients of these very grand awards, very highly honored awards, particularly in the world of theater. Cause y'all, doing theater is a different world. I've done a couple of just local, like not real, like, you know what I'm saying? But I've definitely done a couple of local films. But I've definitely done a lot of theater. And then in terms of what the expectation is of theater and what you get out of it and, the day-to-day, the folks doing costuming, the folks doing the props, you have the folks that are behind the scenes, the folks who are producing, you have the assistant directors, you have the lighting, you have so many different elements that come along with theater. And it's a different world within this. It's such an acceptable world. That's another thing that I loved about the world of theater. Like, it's so accepting. Like, everybody, it just feels so accepting. Now, when it comes to roles, baby, it is competitive. Let's be very clear. You should not get that role. No, it's very competitive, right? But that's also a part of the hunger. It's a part of the bite, So anyway, Jay-Z made another appearance. Remember I talked about the fact that he made an appearance at the Tom Brady's Hall of Fame induction event that he had. Jay-Z came out and did a performance. Well, he also came out with Alicia Keys and did a performance. They, of course, performed the hit song Empire State of Mind. Interesting fact from our critics over at the Daily News, who reports that Jay-Z's Rock Nation is listed as a producer along with Reverend Al Sharpton's daughter, Dominique Sharpton, and philanthropist Candy Spelling. Now, this is also a project that took, again, about 11 or so years. I'd be interested to know what that process looked like. Critics, if y'all know anything about what that process looked like, or how Alicia Keys went about that, or a resource in which I can go and reference, please be sure to let me know.